Hello, I'm Paul Beckwith. Many years ago, I talked about what I thought were some of the key elements for addressing the climate crisis that we've been facing for a long time in a significant fashion. And I often talked about these human tipping points, if you like. So, tipping points in human behavior resulting from a tipping point in human understanding of the risks that we all face from abrupt climate change. I also said that it would be unlikely that we would even know that we had crossed such a tipping point until after the fact, until we looked into the rearview mirror, if you like, and said, yes, this was the moment when things changed in human understanding of the climate crisis that we face. And then once that point was reached, I said that it was absolutely vital that we declare a global climate change emergency. And then we're all rowing in the same direction. Humanity's rowing in the same direction to address this problem. And I talked about the three-legged bar stool of things that we needed to do action-wise once we realized that we were in this emergency situation. And that includes the first leg of the three-legged bar stool is to slash global emissions. So just zero global emissions. But that is not sufficient because the climate system has built up so much momentum and is changing so quickly with all of these grave negative consequences to different parts of the world that, and eventually this will expand into global food shortages, global food crisis. So basically, the first leg is to slash fossil fuel emissions. But there's two other legs of things that I really think that we need to do. And the second leg, if you like, is carbon dioxide removal. Okay, we've already pushed past 415 parts per million, well on our way to 420 parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere. So we need to apply and deploy carbon dioxide removal technologies. And I've talked about that in separate videos, and I'll talk about it a lot in future videos. But we need to actively remove carbon from the atmosphere, mostly CO2, but also things like methane, which is on an accelerated rise also. So carbon dioxide removal, we need to get down to 350 or even 300 parts per million to stabilize our climate. So that's leg two of the three-legged bar stool. And the third thing that we need to do is we need to deploy solar radiation management technologies, so SRM, in order to basically either block some of the sunlight to cool the Arctic. If we let the Arctic lose all its Arctic sea ice, then Greenland's exposed and the melt rates of Greenland will accelerate. The melt rates of Antarctica and Greenland are already, increasing with a doubling of melt rates, something like 7 to 10 years, doubling rates, as James Hansen has discussed. And we can actually see this is ongoing. There was just a new report out on the oceans and cryosphere from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Also, loss of sea ice, blue ocean event in the Arctic will expose the methane that, the warming of the ocean perforates the seafloor, goes into the seafloor, and the methane clathrates and the methane the permafrost on the seafloor thaws, bacteria breaks it down, produces the methane and CO2, and this will rocket us into a much, much warmer world. It will basically take any mitigation out of human hands. So this is a huge risk that we face. So we need to deploy solar radiation management technologies to first and foremost cool the Arctic to ensure that this does not happen. So have we reached a tipping point in human understanding and behavior of the problem? Well, I'm going to talk all about the Greta phenomena. Make the planet Greta again. Okay? Make the world Greta again. Is this phenomena, the Greta phenomena? And it is a phenomena. And as far as the phenomena has gone at this point, it has a lot more growth to it, and it could very well be the tipping point in human understanding and behavior of the problem, triggered by this 16-year-old, 15-year-old a year ago, now 16, this worldwide phenomena that is occurring. I spent the day, in Ottawa, walking down streets in Ottawa with my globe and my climate signs as part of the climate strike, Friday's climate strike. And I've never seen crowds that I saw today. 20, 30,000 people, 500,000 people in Montreal, where Greta is at the moment. We had 4 million people globally a week ago on Friday, and I think the numbers are much higher than that. So are we at a tipping point in human behavior and human understanding of the problem? So let's have a look at Greta for a little bit here. Okay, so worldwide phenomena for sure at the moment. So let's have a look at some of the things. So first of all, plug for my blog, paulbeckwith.net. Please have a look at it. It's talking about marine heat waves with a post just from a few days ago. Please consider supporting my videos. I think I'm probably close to 600 plus videos. Please support my work by donating to PayPal. I like to, I have an independent voice. I analyze all the latest in climate science, and psychology of denial and psychology, all of the different elements. It's not just the climate science, the human elements as well. So Greta, I'm sure you've all heard of her, people watching this video. There is a Wikipedia page on Greta, and it's quite well written. It gives sort of the history of when she started her work. No one is too small to make a difference. There's a book out by her. The money's being donated to charity. There is basically, we can talk about the Green New Deal. There's basically a Greta Thunberg effect, or Greta Thunberg, as the pronunciation goes. And definitely this is ongoing. You can see it now. Anyway, there's lots of information on the Wikipedia site. If you go to Twitter, I spent the day around Ottawa, an incredible day of climate action around our planet today. In Ottawa, I estimate 20,000 people, but who knows? And there's some photos. This is one of the better ones of me here. And they were just massive. I like clouds, interesting clouds. Massive amounts of people, on Parliament Hill, which is where people go for the big protests in Ottawa. Now, why is Greta Thunberg so triggering for certain men? Okay, I'm going to talk about that a little bit. But in terms of, climate strike, just if you're on Twitter, just put in these hashtags, climate or climate strike, climate change. I mean, today has been a phenomenal day. Just absolutely phenomenal in terms of the number of people that have got out on the streets and shown their concern about climate change. So here's an interesting article, the Irish Times. Why is Greta Thunberg so triggering for certain men? And she's definitely triggering. Older white males are completely triggered by her. They see her as a huge threat. Some of the criticism is astonishing. It's the most vicious and most fatuous kind of background bullying. Okay, it's actually astonishing, the attacks, and the attacks from climate deniers, the attacks from right-wing politicians, the attacks from, the blogosphere, right? In an age when democracy is under assault, she hints at the emergence of a new kind of power, a convergence of youth, popular protest, and irrefutable science. Okay, some of the right-wing media have launched totally unhinged attacks against Greta. They're scared. They're basically completely and utterly scared because they see they have nothing to they have no substantive science to support their position. So all they can do is ad hominem attacks, and here they're attacking, a 15, now 16-year-old girl, okay? And some of the attacks are like conservative blogger, tase and arrest her. Okay, I can't tell if Greta needs a spanking or a psychological intervention, probably both. Brightberg. Okay, watch Greta channel Hitler in hate-filled rants, Alex Jones, Infowars, conspiracists. Okay, here's a comparison of Thunberg to Nordic white girls with braids and red cheeks who were once used for Nazi propaganda. See this image here? And then an image of Greta. I mean, here's somebody who said that she has fetal alcohol syndrome. It just goes on and on and on and on, okay? These people are terrified of this girl. They have no idea how to deal with it, and they just strike out with hatred, online hatred. It's just unbelievable to see. Okay, just unbelievable to see. Here's Laura Ingraham, Fox News, saying "Children of the Climate," comparing Greta to the movie Children of the Corn, where all the children were walking in the cornfields as zombies. Okay, why Greta triggers the troglodytes among us. So if you go on troglodytes, search Google, okay, troglodyte, a hermit, a person who is regarded as being deliberately ignorant or old-fashioned. Okay? So, and it goes on and it talks about some of the things as to why, here's Trump and here's Greta looking fiercely, saying, who is this crazy man who's running the country, who is being ignorant on climate change and is threatening the entire future of the planet? She's not just a girl with Asperger's who's Swedish. She's a girl with Asperger's who's Swedish and who's asking us to do more than just separate our rubbish, more than recycle. She's asking us to address the grave climate issue. And if you go on and look at, there's a self-help group for old white men scared of Greta. And, this is an image of her. I mean, there's so many stories. There's so much written. She's a painful reminder of decades of climate failures. We've been talking about climate change and of taking action for years and years and years. This is a very good article. I'd highly recommend you read it. Look up this title in Skeptical Science. And here's where we are, the Greta Thunberg helpline. And I'll just play a little bit of this because it's, it hits the key points.
Hi, I'm a middle-aged man with embarrassing problems. I get irrationally angry at a Swedish girl who wants to save the planet. Luckily, there's now a number I can call.
Hello, you've called the Greta Thunberg helpline.
If you're a grown adult who needs to yell at a child for some reason, the Greta Thunberg helpline is here to tolerate you.
Just feeling needless anxiety. She's making the end of the world sound like it's the end of the world.
This whole charade's gone too far. Now I see she's speaking in front of a mock UN.
So that was the real UN.
So before you go full caps lock in an article comment section, let our expert counsellors assess your situation.
So I just need to ask you some questions before we get started. Is your Twitter profile picture an egg?
Yeah, but I just don't have any good photos of my face.
Okay, so the key question that I'm asking here is, are we at that point, a tipping point in human understanding of of the climate crisis we face? And has Greta brought us there? Thanks for listening.